Hi everyone. I'd like to show you how to do a one-handed surgical square knot. Now, in the operating room when we are throwing deep sutures, deep to the skin, whether it's deep in the abdomen or deep in thick tissue, like deep tissue on a spine or something like that, or even when we're just closing superficial fascia. Either way, we're going to be using either a one-handed or a two-handed square knot in order to tie that rather than an instrument tie. And so for students, before you go to the operating room, I highly recommend that you become comfortable with both the one-handed and the two-handed surgical square knot. Okay, so let's say for the one-handed square knot, we're going to throw our suture here. So now we've got our suture. Now for the for the one-handed square knot, I personally like to begin with the suture end that's nearest to me in my left hand and the suture on the opposite end in my right hand. Now a quick note, with the one-handed square knot, there are one hand is doing basically all the work, all the tying and all the throwing, while the other hand is simply going back and forth and providing strength. So for me, I like to have it so that my left hand is actually the one doing all the work while my right hand is the strength, and never actually changes. However, there are plenty of surgeons and surgical team members that like to do all the throwing with their right hand, and that's perfectly fine. For me, I learned to do it with my left hand. That's the way I was taught, and so that's the way I feel most comfortable. If you would like to learn it doing it with your right hand, just do the opposite of what I'm providing in instruction and you'll be great. Okay, so first of all, you're going to throw that knot with, for me, I like with my left hand to be the suture nearest to me and the other end in my right. Now I hold both of them the same at the beginning, as if I'm almost like I'm holding the reins of a horse. Okay, and then how it begins is with my left hand, I am going to reach around with my fingers like this. So my thumb and my index finger are going to hold the string steady, just like over here, but my other three fingers are going to come around to the opposite side, and I'm going to hold it like this. Okay, so around to this side. Now, with my right hand, I'm going to drape this other side over my fingers like this, so that they're parallel to each other. And then with my middle finger, I'm going to pull this purple underneath the other and grab onto the white with my middle finger. Okay, so over the top, under, and grab it. Now I'm going to pinch the white string between my middle finger and my ring finger here and let go with my thumb and my index finger, which allows me to pull it through like this. Okay, now because I've pulled it through, my right hand is nearest to me now, I'm going to cinch this down. Okay, now I'm ready to go for the next throw. This hand doesn't change. All it does is change sides back and forth to ensure that I'm throwing square knots with each throw. With my right hand, with my left hand though, I'm going to now hold it like this. I'm going to create basically a V with my index finger and my middle finger, with the string draped over out towards the tip of my index finger. With my right hand, I'm going to drape this over the top here, which is going to allow me to turn my finger in this way and pull the white string around. Let me do that again. So over the top with my index finger, I'm going to curl it around and grab the white string, which is going to let me pull it through like this. And now because I started with my right hand over here, it's going to change sides, and notice how that when I do that, it's going to pull down, and there you go, there's a square knot. Okay? And now I'm back to my original position, and I can just do it again. So my fingers come around, this side comes over so they're parallel, my middle finger is going to come around and through, pinching it with my middle finger and my ring finger to pull it through and draping it down on top. Nice and tight, and that's a square knot. With this finger, I'm going to create V, with this hand with a V, draping it over the top, around with the index finger to pull it down, around and through. and cinching it down. Okay, over the top and around and through. One more with the V, over the top, around, pulling it around and through. Down. Now once you get to the point where you're pretty comfortable with that, it can become very quick. Now in the operating room, you're going to want to throw several square knots one on top of the other, because most of the time when we're throwing deep sutures, we really don't want those to come undone, especially when the patient starts moving and the fascia starts pulling around. And so we're going to really cinch it down and oftentimes do 8 or 9 throws to make sure that's a very strong knot. Okay, and so you can get to the point where you can move rather quickly. Okay, and even faster. Okay, but either way, we're throwing a whole bunch of square knots on top of each other. So once you've become comfortable with the nylon rope, I would suggest pulling out some suture. Now this is some big 2/0 Vicryl suture, and let's pretend we're going to throw with that now. So excuse me. I'm going to start again as if I'm holding the reins of a horse, and then these fingers are going to come around over the top, parallel to each other. I hope you can see that in the video. My middle finger is going to pull that other string around and down, pinching it between and through. And then I can cinch that down. Okay. Oftentimes in the OR, you're going to have to really cinch it down, getting your other finger involved and really pinching it down. And now I want to hold that tight with my right hand. Okay. As I hold that tight with my right hand, my left hand preps and ready, gets prepped and ready, and oftentimes I actually will bring it over to the other side so that I can keep this nice and snug and tight and really pinch it down like that. Now technically, because my right hand did not move to the other side, that's technically a slip knot, and that's why I can cinch it so tight. But because it's a slip knot, I need to make sure that every throw on top of it creates square knot. So the next throw, I'm going to do one of these again, but going back the opposite direction now, my right hand is definitely going to need to change places so that I'm making sure those are square knots. Okay. And now I can come across again like this, creating that V over, pinching it, oh, slipped, over and around. See how I grabbed it with my finger, pulling it through the knot, through the loop and down. And then because I'm ready to go on this side, I can just come right over, parallel, around, through, down, over, grabbing that, around, through, and down. Okay, so even though that first couple of throws was a slip knot, that made it so that I could really bear down nice and tight there on my tissue. And so if you've got fascia, like deep fascia on a back, for example, after a spinal case, we will want to throw these quite tight because we don't want that fascia popping loose. Okay, so let's do that one more time. This is turning into a long video, but hopefully it's helpful. Okay, so again, right hand coming across, making it parallel. My middle finger is pulling it through, and I can pull it down. And now I can cinch it nice and tight, and with my right hand I'm going to try to hold that nice and tight. Now if this is a deep fascia, I might choose to make this first one a slip knot by leaving my right hand where it is, bringing my left hand across, see that V's there, and I'm able to bring my finger around just the same as if it was on the other side. Now this is creating a slip knot, and with my right hand, watch how I can cinch that down nice and tight. Now with my right hand, I'm going to keep tension on that so that it stays tight, and I'm going to throw another throw. Okay, pinching it down nice and tight, and then from there I need to make sure that I'm throwing square knots on top to lock it in place so that that knot does not come free.